Alrighty, so here in this session, we are going to be talking about visual rules. So here's the introduction to visual rules. The purpose of CSS is to add style to web page, and each element on the page can have many style properties. Some of the basic properties relate to the size, style, and color of the element. In this lesson, you'll learn some fundamental CSS visual rules that you can use to start styling web page elements. Yay. Next. So font family. If you've ever used word processing software like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, chances are that you probably also use a feature that allows you to change the font you are typing in. Font refers to the technical term typeface or font family. Cool. To change the typeface of text on your web page, you can use the font family property. Thank you. Okay. You can use the font family property. So here's an example. So in the example above, the font family for all main heading elements has been set to Garamond. Garamond. When setting typefaces on a web page, keep the following points in mind. The font specified must be installed on the user's computer or downloaded with the site. Web safe fonts are a group of fonts supported across most browsers and operating systems. Unless you are using web safe fonts, the font you choose may not appear the same between all browsers and operating systems. And then lastly, when the name of a typeface consists of more than one word, it's a best practice to enclose the typeface's name in quotes like so. So here's an example. The font family with the value of Courier space new, but it's enclosed there in quotes. You'll take a deeper look into typography in a later lesson. Awesome. So let's put this to work. Inside the style.css file, set the font family of the main heading H1 and subheading H2 to Georgia. So here's main, the main heading. And we're just gonna go ahead and add, I feel like it should go after font size. So we're gonna put font family. Now, I don't know if this is correct or not, but this just seems like the best place to put it to me. Okay, now we're gonna copy this, set the font family of the main heading and the subheading. So that's the main heading. We're gonna copy that, and then the subheading is here. We're just gonna put it under font size because that makes the most sense to me. Now we're gonna run it. Oh. Um, cool. Next, we're gonna add a style rule that sets the font family of the paragraph to Helvetica. Next, add a style rule that sets the font family of the paragraph P. Here we go, it's down here. Add a style rule that sets the font family of the paragraph P to Helvetica. So we're gonna put it in here. Font family, then boom, Helvetica. And we're gonna put our semicolon and close it out. Now, it's paragraph. So it's Helvetica first. Helvetica. Here we go. Now we're gonna run that. Awesome. Awesome. Next. All right, so the font size. Changing the typeface isn't the only way to customize the text. Oftentimes, different sections of a web page are highlighted by modifying the font size. To change the size of text on your web page, you can use the font size property. Okay. In the example above, the font size of all paragraphs was set to 18 pixels. Pixels, or px, means pixels, which is one way to measure font size. All right. So in the style.css file, set the font size of paragraph elements to 18 pixels. Okay, so all of these are going to be set to 18 pixels. Font size here. Oh, I was not supposed to do that. 2M. So it specifically says here, set the font size of paragraph elements. This is the H1 element, and the H2 element, and here is the paragraph element. So we are going to add in our font size. Oh, you see, so Codecademy went ahead and put that font family at the bottom for all of them. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. I felt like that was not the right thing to do. I didn't get where I wanted to, but hey, now we know for sure. So we are going to add font size in there. Font size. Let's set that to 18 pixels. EX. Then semicolon to end that. Oh, sorry, font over here got visually and visibly bigger. All right, so next, now we're going to talk about font weight. So in CSS, the font weight property controls how bold or thin text appears. In the example above, all paragraphs on the web page would appear bolded. The font weight property has another value, which is normal. So why does it exist? If we wanted all text on the web page to appear bolded, we could select all text elements and change their font weight to bold. If a certain section of text was required to appear normal, however, we could set the font weight of that particular element to normal, essentially shutting off bold for that element. Nice. So in the style.css file, set the font weight of paragraph elements to bold. So we're going to scroll here, and as you can see, we're going to keep our eyes here on the paragraph, and we are going to add in here our font weight. Set that to bold, semicolon, and that out. And now remember, we're going to take a look here at this, the paragraph here in the browser. Why not? You just bolded it. Cool. Right, next. All right, so now we're going to talk about text align. So no matter how much styling is applied to text, typeface size, weight, etc., the text always appears on the left side of the container in which it resides. To align text, we can use the text align property. The text align property will align text to the element that holds it, otherwise known as its parent. All right. Let's scroll. So the text align property can be set to one of the following commonly used values. It can be set to left, which aligns text to the left side of its parent element, which in this case is the browser. It can be set in the middle. In the center. I don't know what my brain just did there. It can be set in the center. So center is text inside of its parent element. It can be set on the right, which aligns text to the right side of its parent element. And then it can be set to justify, which spaces out text in order to align the right and left side of the parent element. Okay, so in the style.css file, set the text align property of the main heading H1 so that it appears in the center. So we're going to be working here within this H1 element, and we're going to go ahead and add in text dash align. Boom, and then we want it to be in the center, so we're going to put center and then close it out with the same color. So here's the H1. Here's the H1. And now we're going to run that and see what happens. Now it's in the center. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Next. All right, so color and background color. Before discussing the specifics of color, it is important to make two distinctions about color. Color can affect the following design aspects: foreground color and background color. Foreground color is the color that an element appears in. For example, when a heading is styled to appear green, the foreground color of the heading has been styled. Conversely, when a heading is styled so that its background appears yellow, the background color of the heading has been styled. That sounds pretty self-explanatory to me. In CSS, these two design aspects can be styled with the following two properties. The first being color, and this property styles an element's foreground color, and then the next one being background dash color, and this property styles an element's background color. And then here's the example: foreground, background. So in the example above, the text of the heading will appear in red and the background of the heading will appear blue. So let's put this to work. We're going to take a look at the caption on the image at the bottom of the page. And then in the style.css file, set the background color in the dot caption selector to white. To white. We are going to set the background color in the dot caption selector to white. Dot caption. We're going to set the background color. So we're going to go ahead and put background dash color. And we're going to set that to white. Boom. Very simple. Now we're going to run that. So that changed this down here. So here, let me go ahead, copy that, take that away real quick, run that so we can see the difference. This is what it looks like without the background. And then, no, I didn't get to that part yet. And then this is what it looks like with that background color. We're gonna run that. Boom. All right, so then in the same rule set the color of the text to black. That should make the text a bit easier to read. We're gonna do the color and set that to black. Then add that semicolon and run that. So we're still looking at this little portion at the bottom. We're gonna run, scroll, beautiful. Now we can see what it says. Next. Okay, now we're gonna talk about opacity. So opacity is the measure of how transparent, or opacity. I feel like it's opacity. Opacity is the measure of how transparent an element is. It's measured from 0 to 1, with 1 representing 100% or fully visible and opaque, and 0 representing 0% or fully invisible. I feel like it's opacity. It's opacity. Opacity can be used to make elements fade into others for a nice overlay effect. To adjust the opacity of an element, the syntax looks like this. So dot overlay, opacity 0.5. In the example above, the dot overlay element would be 50% visible, letting whatever is positioned behind it show through. So let's give the caption on the image some transparency. In the style.css file, set dot caption to have a 0.75 opacity. Opacity. That's what I think it is, opacity. And this is set caption. So we're going to scroll down, down, down. And then we're just going to put opacity. 0.75. Maybe we'll do 0.75. And then What's that with semicolon? It's for a caption. I think that's the caption here. Oh no, the caption's down here. Run it. Nice. That looks better. That looks better. Alrighty, let's move on. Next. So the background image. CSS has the ability to change the background of an element. One option is to make the background of an element an image. This is done through the CSS property background-image. The syntax looks like this. The background image property will set the element's background to display an image. Then the value provided to background-image is a URL. The URL should be a URL to an image. The URL can be a file within your project or it can be a link to an external site. To link to an image inside an existing project, you must provide a relative file path, and that's going to be that dot forward slash, I'm sure. If there is an image folder in the project with an image named mountains.jpg, the relative file path will look like below. I don't see that dot forward slash, so we just gonna recant that statement. So here it is, referencing that main dash banner, and then, so we're still gonna use this URL here, and then open up some parentheses, then quotes, images, a forward slash, mountains.jpg. Okay. So in the style.css file, change the background image of the element with the .image class. The image is stored in the following URL. So let's go ahead and copy that URL. What's happening? Copy. All right, here is the image class. Change the background image of the element with the image class. The image is stored in the following URL. Okay, so these are two different URLs. Is it? Courses, see look, freelance dash one, web dash 101, unit 4, unit 2. Okay. So we're just going to paste in our new URL here. All right, and let's run that. Here's our new image. Okay, cool. All right, next. All right, important. So, exclamation mark important can be applied to specific declarations instead of full rules. It will override any style, no matter how specific it is. As a result, it should almost never be used. Once important is used, it is very hard to override. The syntax of important in CSS looks like this. Your regular declaration and just exclamation mark important right afterwards. Since important is used on the piece selector, on the P selector's color attribute, all P elements will appear blue, even though there's a more specific .main P selector that selects the color attribute to red. I said that sets the color attribute to red. One justification for using important is when working with multiple style sheets. For example, if we are using the Bootstrap CSS framework and want to override the style for one specific HTML element, we can use the important property. Imagine Style-library.css is a style sheet that is full of good styles, but you don't like how it is turning the color of H1 yellow. In the style.css file, add an important rule. Oh, see, it is yellow. Add an important rule to the color style of inside the H1 rule set to change the color back to FFF, which is white. All right. I fear they have lost me. Imagine. Okay, so we're just imagining. Because I got full of good styles, but you don't like us turning that da da da. Add an important. Oh, okay. It's very simple. Literally just doing this. Exclamation important right after what we want to override. We're gonna run that. Simple as pie. All right. Overthought that one. Next. Okay. So just a review over visual rules. Um, so incredible work to us. We used CSS to alter text and images on a website. Throughout this lesson, we learned concepts including the font family property, which defines the typeface of an element, font size, which controls the size of the text displayed, font weight, which defines how thin or thick text is displayed, the text align property places text in the left, right, or center of its parent container. We've also learned that text can have two different color attributes, color and background color. And that color defines the color of the text, while background color defines the color behind the text. We learned that CSS can make element transparent with the opacity property. Also, that CSS can set the background of an element to an image with the background image property. And then lastly, that the exclamation important flag will override any style. However, it should almost never be used as it is extremely difficult to override. Alrighty, so feel free to experiment with the code and see what other changes you can make. If you want to see how to incorporate CSS visual rules in a project, watch the video below and follow along with one of our experts. So I am going to go ahead and stop the video here. Thank you all for tuning into the session, and until next time, sun shines, we are out of here.